Bonjour tout le monde, juste un petit mot rapide pour vous donner l'information qu'on va commencer d'ici quelques minutes à peine. Tout le monde a accès aux outils que vous retrouvez au bas de votre écran. J'avais mis un tableau blanc pour que vous puissiez le pratiquer. On revient un petit peu aux informations de base là, à dévoiler pour être sûr que tout le monde a les informations concernant l'interprétation. Vous avez également accès à vos micros. Tout est ouvert, tout est disponible. Si vous voulez l'essayer, vous avez encore quelques minutes. Euh, je vous reviens dans quelques minutes à peine pour commencer le tout. Ce sera pas long, tout est à peu près arrivé et je vois qu'on a déjà beaucoup de participants. Il y en manque beaucoup, mais on va tout de même commencer. Ce ne sera pas très long. Bonjour tout le monde. Évidemment, je m'excuse de ce petit retard. Il y a toujours des petites questions de dernière minute. Je dois régler. Donc, on va commencer sans plus tarder. Alors, bienvenue à cet atelier de la CCP. J'aimerais rappeler que l'atelier est enregistré et de même que l'interprétation. Toutes les interventions directes peuvent être faites avec le microphone de votre ordinateur ou avec l'outil de clavardage. Pour les francophones, si vous prenez la parole, pour faciliter le travail de l'interprète, il serait préférable d'avoir, si possible, un débit moyen ou, si vous voulez, qui n'est pas trop excessivement rapide. J'aimerais remercier notre commanditaire SVI Solutions pour nous permettre d'utiliser leur outil de webconférence VIA. Alors, nous en sommes rendus à la 9e série d'ateliers qui porte sur le terme transition vers le numérique en situation d'urgence. Quelles leçons en tirer? La situation de crise qui a été amenée par la COVID-19, on la connaît bien, mais ça a provoqué une onde de choc dans le monde de l'éducation. Tous se sont mis en mode à distance en quelques semaines, parfois même en quelques jours. Alors, il est important, je pense, de se pencher sur cette réalité-là et de commencer à mieux comprendre les effets pour l'enseignement en général et l'enseignement avec des outils numériques en particulier. Quelles sont les conséquences de cette transition ultra rapide? La formation à distance pourra-t-elle en bénéficier ou sera-t-elle plus difficile que jamais? À ce point-ci, je vais vous demander de fermer votre microphone pour ceux qui l'utilisent. J'entends des pieds. Si vous voulez bien fermer votre microphone, Teresa. Could you close your microphone, please? Désolée. Alors, d'une durée d'environ, j'entends des échos. Je vais arranger ça. Excusez-moi. Donc, d'une durée d'une quinzaine de minutes chaque à peu près, les présentations vont être suivies d'une période de questions d'environ 30 minutes. C'est un élément, c'est les proportions à peu près qu'on va respecter. Alors d'abord, Anna Brown va aborder le thème réaménager un cours en présentiel en vue de son offre en ligne, quelques idées pratiques. Après une période de questions d'environ 30 minutes, Madame Papi va présenter le deuxième thème, conception pédagogique et développement de dispositifs de formation en contexte de pandémie. Madame Brown œuvre depuis 20 ans dans le domaine de l'apprentissage et du développement, que ce soit au sein de services internes ou comme consultante auprès d'entreprises et d'organismes. L'entreprise qu'elle a fondée, Performance Matters, accompagne ses clients dans l'élaboration de stratégies d'apprentissage et de programmes de formation, de développement ou d'accompagnement qui visent à favoriser le succès de leurs employés et de leurs activités. Madame Brown conçoit des environnements d'apprentissage dans des domaines aussi variés que la formation en leadership et en accompagnement de cadre, la vente et le service à la clientèle, la mise en œuvre des services et la conformité à la réglementation. Je vais donc laisser la parole à Madame Brown, mais avant, je vais demander aux personnes dont le micro est ouvert de le fermer.
Well, I'll send it to you anyways.
Madame.
It's on, but it's on French, so.
Oh, you don't have the English?
No, I have to call in.
Madame Teresa Crouch, could you please close your
Go for it. Huh?
I really don't want to
Here.
the phone.
Here, okay. So it's done. So, Anna, I'll let you. Here we go. So I'll leave you the microphone. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you, Carol. My name is Hannah Brown, and I'm very excited about this webinar with all of you today. I do want to start off to say that I woke up this morning with a horrible sore throat. So I'm having difficulty swallowing, and I'm having to talk much quieter than what I normally do. So if I'm less animated or if you're having a hard time hearing me, my apologies. I have my cup of tea here beside me, which I will drink as I need to. So I studied French in high school and a little bit in university, but I caught a little bit of what Carol was sharing. And so just to maybe say a little bit in English as well, my presentation today is about what are some tips and tricks for redesigning in-person programs for online delivery. And I want to leverage as many of the tools that are available within this platform. So some of you who logged on early were using the whiteboard or the drawing tools, which is great. We'll also be using some breakout rooms as well. So be prepared to not just sit back and listen, but to be an active participant in this webinar. So a little bit about me, to build on what Kettle shared. I've been a learning design consultant for over 20 years. I have my own practice called Performance Matters. And I like to describe myself as a Sherpa. So that's somebody who helps travelers or hikers climb Mount Everest. And in that analogy, I'm more than just a pair of hands to help carry equipment. I'm a guide who helps my travelers find the safest way and the best way to get to the summit. I also find when working with clients that sometimes they don't know exactly what the summit looks like. They have a vague sense of what it should be, but they don't have that clarity. And that's where I can also come in and help provide that clarity because I've been there before and I can help paint the picture for them for what works in their organization. We have a full session planned here, so I'm going to dive right in. And what I'd like to do before I get into the content piece is I'd like to hear from you a little bit. So when I envisioned this program, this session, I knew that you'd be a lot of instructional designers on the call, and I thought there'd probably be some other folks maybe as well, and that some of you would be working in-house and some of you might be working as external consultants. And when the pandemic hit, we all had to switch gears and move from doing work in person to doing everything online. And in talking with clients and other colleagues, other consultants, I came up with this ladder of a journey ladder, I suppose, of where people might be on that process of shifting from in-person to online. So at the bottom was maybe before the pandemic, I'm unaware that online exists, or I don't think I need it, so I'm not going to go there. And then maybe the pandemic hit and people were a little bit resistant. I'll just wait a little bit and see if it passes, and then I'll wait for in-person to come back. And you can see that as we go up the ladder, we get more comfortable with online. And my intention is in this little bit of time that we have to try and inch you up that ladder a little bit. What I'd like to find out from you is where you are on that ladder currently. And you can see that I have an image here on the right with the drawing tools. So I'd like you to use the drawing tools now. If you could probably use the check mark, that might be the easiest. If you can just put a check mark on that there, somebody did it in purple already, perfect. So put a check mark where you are currently on that ladder, on that journey to online training. Excellent. I have a lot of experts. Wonderful. That's great. So we're going to be doing a breakout session where you'll be able to share all of your expertise with each other. So I think that'll be very cool to hear what all you have to contribute. Wonderful. So my intention with this program or with this webinar, there's three things. One is I want to give you some value in the short time that we have. I also want to share with you that and help you move up that ladder. I also want to hopefully connect with some of you so we can continue the conversation, and I'll provide a QR code at the end if you want to connect on LinkedIn. And then lastly, to tell you about a full program that I have that if you're interested and if you want to inch up that ladder a little bit more, that program might be a way of helping you do that. So thank you for sharing with me where you are currently. What I'd like to do next is use this visual as our agenda. So this is a model I created for my online training, not the webinar, but the full program that I offer. And I fully believe that to have successful online training, there's three components. You need to have the right technology, you need to have really good design, and you need to have expert facilitation. And what I'd like to do today is talk about all three of those in varying degrees. Some we'll touch on really lightly, and others we'll spend a little bit more time. So this is our agenda for what we'll cover today. I'd like to start with facilitation and to tell you a story. When I was facilitating my program, it was in July, and I was about 10 minutes into one of the modules and my computer just shut off, and it wasn't that exact blue screen, but it was pretty darn close. And I panicked, of course, as we all do and all would. Thankfully, I had I still work with him, a wonderful producer who kind of kept the session going. My computer thankfully shut down and rebooted really quickly so I could kind of log back in and stay connected with my folks. So I feel like in talking with instructional designers and learning and development professionals, when we're talking about online delivery, that's one of the biggest fears that people has is, what if my Zoom or my WebEx turns off? What if I lose my internet or my computer shuts down? And what I'd like to do is hear from you. What are your biggest concerns with online training? So if you could use the public chat, in my view, it's in the bottom left corner. I'm not sure where it shows up for you. And what I'd like you to do is share your biggest concern with online training. And if it's the same as what I described, then you can just write same in the discussion board. Or if it's something different, you can write a different response as well. So pop your ideas into the discussion board and let's hear what your biggest fears are. Maintaining participant motivation, absolutely. That was my little bit of French coming out there. I could read that. No one shows up. Yep. It feels boring and impersonal. Yep. Internet speed, absolutely. Those are all common fears that we have when we're heading into facilitating.
I
Excellent. Coming up.
can try to give you some French. The camera didn't work.
Yes. Creating a variety of interactivities. Is that Melanie? Yeah.
Also,
Yep. Getting people's interest.
not understanding right the needs of the applicant or the users.
Yep. Excellent. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I hinted that Paul, my producer, really stepped in and helped. And in the little bit of space that we have, what I'm going to do is leave you with a bit of a cliffhanger, kind of what was it that we did. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste a link into chat, into the discussion board. I just pasted it there. I'm going to do that throughout the webinar to give you additional resources that you can access afterwards. I also understand that the presentation is available to you, so you'll see the slides. What I'll also do afterwards is I'll connect with Carol and make the slides available to you, plus the links that I put in chat, plus when we do our breakout, all the discussion that comes out of there. So yes, you have the slides now already, but after the session we'll provide you with something that I think will be even more valuable. So look for the links and look for the handout after the session as well. So if we think about technology, so I'm moving kind of in my circle, my agenda there, and this is a poll, kind of an open poll that I have with folks, and I ask kind of what's the technology that you use in your online sessions, and kind of they answer with varying degrees there, and you can see that there's lots of different technology available. And if I kind of tease that out, I like to think of technology in kind of three groups or three buckets or categories. So one is, what's the platform that I'm using? So with VIA, what technology is available to me here? What else can I use in the session? What's third-party applications or technology that I can incorporate? And then if I have multiple sessions, what's the technology I can use in between the sessions to extend that learning? So let's use this list here as a jumping off point to look at what are some examples of each of those three categories. So the first is the platform, and you can see that I've canceled out some of the responses. So within many platforms, we have audio and video like today. We have breakout rooms, which we'll be using. We have chat, Q&A, sharing screen, whiteboard, annotate. So all of those we've used today, even within this platform, and they're common with other platforms as well. The other bucket I look at is in session, and certainly all of the features that we just talked about in the platform are also available. But there's other ones, third-party ones that I like to incorporate in as well. So lots of times I like to use polling, so you can do that within the platform, whether it's Zoom or something else. And then there's third-party polling as well. So Mentimeter is one that comes to mind, and Poll Everywhere is another one that I also use. And then at the very bottom, you'll see my other green arrow to highlight that I use third-party collaboration platforms. So examples of those would be Miro, M-I-R-O, and Mural, M-U-R-A-L. Those are both fairly common and have Miro, anyways, has a free version. Another one, there's Google Jamboard, which is free. It's part of the Google Suite. So lots of different tools to use collaboration where you could do virtual sticky notes and generate brainstorming ideas from your folks. The third example of technology, the third category, is what can I use between my sessions? And so here again, I've left third-party collaboration platforms on there. And sometimes I'll use Miro or Mural. I'll set up the link. I'll have people use it in the session. Let's say it's a group agreement. And then I'll leave the link open and say, between now and our next session, go back in there and add anything else that you want to use. Or sometimes if I'm going to introduce it for the first time, I send them a link and I say, you know, fill out this intro activity to introduce yourself, an icebreaker. And then when we get in the session, they've already used the technology and we can build on that. So you can also use those outside of the actual online session. And then obviously discussion boards are another common one. So if you have within your organization, you might have a learning management system or an intranet you can use. If you're external like I am, you can take advantage of a LinkedIn or Facebook. They both have private groups that you can create. Slack is another one. So lots of different ways to stay engaged with your folks in between sessions. And if you only have one session, you can do some pre-work that way and then post-work follow-up. So it's not just multiple sessions. It's also applicable if you have just one. So there's our big rush through through technology. What I'd like to do is I'm just going to look down and grab the link here for you. There's another link that I have that I can share about technology and going a little bit more in depth. So let me just look down here and paste that into chat. I see J.R. Dingwall, thank you for posting the links in there. Yes, the Mentimeter poll everywhere for sure. Mural, Padlet, absolutely. So here's my link to a blog post or a newsletter that I did on technology specifically, so going a little bit more in depth. So if we keep moving on with my visual agenda here, the next block is design. And when I think about design, I break it kind of into two parts. So the first is, what am I doing at that high level design phase? So how am I having to restructure my in-person program so that I can leverage the technology? And I need to be more conscious of the time because typically online programs are shorter than in person. People get fatigued being online, so we need to be sensitive to that. So there's a high level design stage, and then there's also looking at the program materials after that. How do they maybe need to change? How does my facilitator guide need to be different? How do my slides maybe need to be different, etc. So I find that folks, when learning and development professionals, that when they're getting ready for online delivery and design, kind of their biggest questions, other than the fear of my technology failing, the biggest questions are around, I do this in person, how do I do that online? And for me, I consider that high level design phase. So what I'd like to do is spend a little bit of time there with you. Before I do that, though, I'm going to pop another link into chat. So we're going to spend some time looking at design, but I wanted to share that blog post with you as well. That goes into a little bit more detail into the design elements. I have a sample picture of a sample facilitator guide is there as well. So to spend a little bit of time on the high level design, I'm going to set you up for some breakout rooms because I know I had suspected, and I know from your annotation that you're all very, or many of you are very experienced with instructional design and online experience. So we're going to go into breakout rooms. So here's a little bit what to expect. So on the left-hand side, how it works, I've set up some breakout rooms for you automatically. You'll be automatically moved. You're going to be with a small group. You're going to be random, and then you're automatically going to be returned back to the main room. So fingers crossed, all the technology works out well, and that will all be a seamless process. In terms of communicating, when you get into your breakout room, please unmute yourself. If you're able to, also turn on your video so that you can see and certainly talk to each other. And what I'll do is I will send messages to you in chat with instructions about what it is that you should be focused on and how much time you have left. So if you notice in the discussion, there's public and animators tabs. When you go into a breakout, you'll have an additional tab, which will be just for your discussion group. The messages that I send you will appear in the public tab. So please make a point of looking there for the instructions and the information that I provide to you. So that's how the breakouts are going to work. Let me tell you what I'd like you to do. So I've put 8 different types of learning activities. And so these are the things at a high level design stage that you might say, I do this introduction in person, how might I do that online? Or number 7, in person, I have an activity where I say, stand at this end of the room if you feel this way, and stand at this end of the room if you feel another way. So that's an example of kind of moving around the room and how I might do that. For number 6, it would be how can you get participants to brainstorm? For number 5, as a facilitator, how can I present online in an engaging way? So each of you will be in one of those breakout groups, and the name of the breakout group will be identified for you. So you should be able to look and see which group you're in because you're going to be randomly assigned. And when you're in your breakouts, what I'd like you to do is that bold question there under number 4. I'd like you to discuss how could you do your assigned activity in an online environment? So for example, if you're in the brainstorm group, how could you do brainstorming in an online environment? Or if you're in the move around the room group, how would you do a physical move around the room activity in an online setting? So that's what I'd like you to do. I've given you 5 minutes, so you'll have to get brainstorming really quick. What I'd like you to do, because I want to collect all of your ideas back when we come together as a larger group. So I'd like each person in your group to identify one idea that you come up with that you're going to share in the discussion board when we come back. So you're going to brainstorm all together, and each person is going to identify one, and they're going to type it into the breakout or into the discussion board when we come back. So I can't see you, so I'm going to hope that that all makes sense for you. And I'm going to pop you into your breakouts. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it's going to work. And we'll see you back here in about 5 minutes. So I think that you're all still here.
It says that I have a room, but I can't see where it is.
Yes. So I asked you to unmute what you're doing, which was great. So I realized that I've opened the rooms, but I have to actually move you. So why don't I do that here a little bit really quickly, try to do that randomly. And I think as I'm doing this, you should all be moving.
I see the rooms appearing up the top.
So I think you are doing it manually, but people can also go by themselves at the top of the screen. They could get to the room where they want.
Okay.
I can't click on those. I can see the tabs, but I can't click on it.
So there's a lot of you. I'm still putting you into rooms. When you're in your room, you'll see all the tabs at the top, but when you're in your room, you'll be able to click on that tab. You won't be able to click on the tabs for the other rooms, the ones that you're not in. So Carol, are you still here with me?
Yes, I'm still there, and I can see that everybody is in a room somewhere.
Yes, I think I had to not just set up the rooms, but actually move people. I didn't realize that. So let me just put some things into chat here that they will all see.
when we were doing all that, there was somebody who was having the microphone open and it was making a lot of echo. So
Mhm.
if it came back, I will have to close that, of course. So hopefully, it's because there's too many. When there's more than one microphone, that could happen.
Yes, I did notice that. I just thought I'd keep talking right over it so they could hear
That's
me.
okay. Yeah, because it was a case where we need to have them talk.
So she's in brain